Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost, the one true God. Back with you with the next video in my Daily Diary series. As usual, before I discuss what I have achieved since yesterday's Daily Diary video, I want to read you a chapter from the Bible. Today it will be the Book of Esther, chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes, and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him. But he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai, to know what it was and why it was. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whatsoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his, to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them Mordecai bade them this answer, Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye from me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way, and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So this is a really powerful chapter in terms of the way Esther chooses to combat. And I use the word combat actually as a bit of a misnomer, because she's not combating what's happening to the Jewish people. Rather, she's choosing to fast. For me, as we read everything up to this point, where here we read in Esther 3:13. This is the crux of the issue that the Jewish people are facing at this point. It says, "And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey." So that's what has gone out from the king, and that is really quite powerful. Yeah, I mean I would say that the origin of this hatred comes from Haman. But nevertheless, in Esther 3:12, it does say, "In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring." I mean, I say that because not to give Ahasuerus a credit for marrying a Jewish woman, but nevertheless, as we're seeing in Esther chapter 4, he is going to be feel an impact from his now Jewish wife, and that's really like actually quite powerful. And this is one of the ways in which I've talked about narangelicism as, you know, I intend to sire my own sons, and I intend to adopt daughters from, you know, that's my plan. And I have many reasons for this that I don't intend to expound upon. But one of the reasons that makes me happy about adopting daughters is because of the fact of how quickly a woman can rise in station by way of marriage, stereotypically, relatively to men. And I talked about this in one of my previous videos in the Esther book, because stereotypically high ranking women in society, women born of like a high class, typically don't marry like men who are poor and born of a low class. But men who are rich, wealthy, powerful, whatever, excuse me, men who are of that class typically do marry, sometimes they do marry women of lower classes. And that's why um, it's an example of how valuable raising women can be, because you see here, when this persecution of the Jews is happening, it's no small thing to say. It's not wrong to say that it is a woman, Queen Esther, who comes and takes care of Mordecai and then initiates the feast. We'll read here now in Esther 4:16. This is Esther's plan. We'll read 4:15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer: "Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish." So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther hath commanded him. So again, the idea being that Ahasuerus' very queen is a Jew. And just a very little time ago, she was a nobody, an absolute nobody. And now she is the queen of this kingdom. How often does that happen for men? Like, not very often, right? But that's the history of the world. And if you look at some of the histories of Europe, for example, during the Middle Ages and on, oftentimes you would see men in those kingdoms marrying off their daughters to other rich and powerful kings around them to secure alliances with other men. And that's one of the ways that raising daughters I see as an advantage, not compared to sons, but as an advantage in terms of I know that the only Narangelical on the earth today is me. And so one of the easiest ways to see a rise in station, not easiest per se, but quickest ways, is to marry your daughter off to a powerful man. And that is arguably even a surer plan, than, for example, the difficult path that there can be for men, because it's going to be very hard for them relatively, and even, relatively to experience the same effect of marrying, for example, a woman that, if you think about Ahasuerus, I'm not kidding, right? You think about this. He's that number one provider and protector at the time. And now he has married Esther. But the chances of like some random guy like marrying Queen Elizabeth is pretty low, as an example. So that's like, because most likely she will end up with somebody of high station from her own people. So that's one of the ways that I see Esther in the Bible as an example of what I intend for Narangelicism, which is that, of course, I want my sons to marry, firstly, within my own faith, and then secondly, because I'll probably have more daughters than sons, it seems like, that those women be married off to men of a proven ability that can provide and protect for them, and hopefully the children are an angelical. And that would be one way of seeing my faith spread not only from me to my sons, but also to my daughters and then their sons. And then that's where I'll go ahead and end the daily dive video there for today, and transition over to what I have achieved since yesterday's daily dive video. Since yesterday's daily dive video, I worked my software developer job. I uploaded and scheduled yesterday's daily dive video for 4:30:23, and I have created, uploaded, and will schedule this daily dive video for 5:1:23. And with no further achievements since yesterday's daily dive video, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.